You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, True Weight Solutions, The 100-Year Lifestyle, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Passive Practice Profits, BrainTap Technology, Sherman College of Chiropractic, SCED, Chiro Pro Accounting, A-Line, and Midwest Brain Health Technology. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 254 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host Luke Millett, and here's your host Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Ray Nichols. And if you want to know about setting the standard for your profession, stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm Jim Chester with my co-host Luke Millett, and we have Dr. Ray Nichols on with us today. And he's coming in from what city?
Coming from Greenville, South Carolina.
Nice. And Luke, Where are we at today?
We're in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Beautiful. So one of my favorite things to ever do on this show is to just get the chiropractic story out to more people. So your friends, your family, our audience members, your audience members can get a little snapshot of who Dr. Ray Nichols is. So if you could just open up into this conversation with us today, tell us your chiropractic story and what got you into chiropractic.
Yeah. So it goes back to, I'm originally from Laura, Mississippi. If anyone knows anything about Mississippi, it is #1 OB state in America. Typically it's Mississippi, Louisiana, or West Virginia, like fighting for that #1 spot, right? It's the wrong competition we be in, but fighting for the #1 spot per se. So I grew up in a very unhealthy family household, and my great-grandmother, great-grandfather, like all these people passed from these like chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and I kept seeing a trend, right? There was a trend that was going on, but I was always told that, your great-grandfather had it, so it's just a genetic thing. But it wasn't a genetic thing. More so, it's a thing. What's been passed down is more so the lifestyles, the habits, the behaviors. These things are passed down generation after generation. And I'm sure you guys have heard the quote from Albert Einstein is the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again, but expecting different results. And that's exactly what's been happening. We've just been doing the same things over and over. That's it. So my thing is I wanted to just go in a different direction. And I didn't know what the different direction looked like, but I was open to it. And that is kind of what led me into chiropractic, because at a really early age, I understood that the body heals itself. And then I was introduced to chiropractic in 2015, my last year of undergrad at Nichols State University in Louisiana. So coming into that chiropractic office, I thought chiropractic was only for people that had a car accident and they had to go to a chiropractor. That was it. But I was visiting the office. I'm seeing all of these like happy people come in smiling, and like I'm like, wow, like what is this? Like this is not what I thought chiropractic was. And from there, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I need to do. So I graduated with my bachelor's degree in athletic training, and then I went straight to Life University in Mariya, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And I haven't looked back since, because chiropractic is exactly where I need to be at, because it resonates with me philosophy-wise, and just everything about it. I love it. I love it. So that's kind of my backstory and kind of how I got into chiropractic.
So did you start going to the chiropractor for just wellness, or did you go because you wanted to get help with something that was going on?
Well, so I didn't receive my first adjustment until I got into chiropractic school. Yeah, my first time getting adjusted was in chiropractic school, and it was by a student in student clinic.
Tell me about the experience. What was that like?
I was very nervous. But I mean, I was in school, so I'm like, we're learning about chiropractic, but I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I mean, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. I realized that yes, there's a student there, but I knew that he knew more than me because he was in literally at that point he has been a year and a half in school, and I'm just his first quarter student. Didn't know much about chiropractic, so it was great to learn from him, and just get my first adjustment, and that's been amazing actually. And since I've been getting adjusted, I actually have not had any type of sinus infections ever since then. Because before that, I used to have sinus infections. I would say probably 4 to 6 times a year, my entire life. But I just thought it was a normal thing. But since I've been getting adjusted, I haven't experienced that at all.
Well, I think it's true, man. Like, I think a lot of times when people have some type of like thing that just happens, their family starts to make like concessions for it. They're like, "Oh, it's just Ray. He's got his thing going on. He's got his allergies and he's get some tissue for him," you know. But that's kind of how that's kind of how people like look at like other people around them. They just know that there's something that like limits them, and there's a limitation of life, and that's something that most people don't really understand, that we're not supposed to be sick. We're supposed to be healthy. And
100%, yes.
and the body, when it experiences some type of symptomatic approach, it usually comes from something in the nervous system. And here's something I learned last night. I was sitting there watching this TED talk.
Yeah.
There was a lady talking about intermittent fasting, and she said when people hold their glycogen or the sugar storage, it usually stores on the fatty deposits around the pancreas and the liver. But she said it also stores in the muscle tissues of the spine. And I was blown away, because if we're talking about like inflammation, and we're talking about, somatic chart, looking at like the organs, and then we're thinking about the spinal muscles in subluxation. Now there's a bigger correlation for me to think about why people that are inflamed and have obesity, like you're talking about down in, the South,
Yeah.
and the correlation behind why people need to get checked more frequently by a chiropractor. Because if we're looking at the root condition, which is inflammation, which is a causation of subluxation, now we're looking at like how we can help more people with chiropractic. And it is about, diet, exercise, hydration. It's a lot of things, but it's also about that powerful adjustment that you experience when you're in student clinic.
Yes, definitely. 100%. That's very, I didn't know that. So thank you for that.
I didn't either till last night about midnight. I was watching a TED talk and I'm like, wow, I wanted to learn more about intermittent fasting.
Gotcha. Okay. That's really cool. I definitely know that.
So what would you say are some things that make you unique or make you stand apart in the chiropractic world?
All right. So we actually just hit on one of them. I mean, the obvious, I mean, I'm a Black chiropractor, so that's one, because the profession only has, I think it's like maybe 1%. And I mean, the hair, right? The hair stands out. It's more of an icon. And I love it. So I'm able to be who I am. I think that's the biggest part of what sets me apart, is showing my true authentic self, so I can be able to step into that space, right? And that's been so freeing, because I haven't always been this way, but I would say in the past few years, this is where I really started to step into that space and really started to be who I am. And then that just allows me to be able to serve people at a higher level, right? Because I'm not focused on myself, I'm focusing on them. Because I know who I am, and I know what I want to express and what I want to put out there in the universe. So I would say more so of just the authenticity of what I bring to the table, to a conversation, a connection. I would say that's the thing that sets me apart from other chiropractors out there.
Well, one of the things I really appreciate about you when I came across your Instagram feed is you're a teacher, and the definition of doctor is teacher.
Yes.
And, I see that you do a fantastic job of doing community outreach with a positive message. Um, why did you decide that that was such an important part of your brand and what you're doing to spread the truth in your corner of the world?
Yeah. So like you just said, I mean, first of all, doctor means teacher, right? And means to educate, and really educate means to, it doesn't mean to like push in, right? It means to actually draw out. That's what education is. So it's more so of, okay, let me bring light, let me bring a different perspective to the people of the world, of humanity, and allow the thing that I know that's already within them, allow that to be brought out of them. Is that I'm not, because if you look at the message, you'll see that I'm not like pushing anything. It's more so I'm putting it out there so people can be able to draw that out, and they can be able to see from a different perspective. Because I do the same thing in the office with my patients. Because I think as a doctor and as a leader, we should be the guides, right? The patients is the hero in their own journey, but we should be that guide to help push them and help educate and help empower them to really take initiative of their health, take responsibility of their health, and really own that space. Because I think that's where the true healing starts. And it's very, very empowering to be in that space. It's very empowering to be in that space. And I just think right now the most, like, people need it. And I was like, out of 2020, I was kind of, I didn't really say much. I was just more so kind of laid back, sitting back, and just really integrating and taking everything in. But came 2021, I felt a big shift that was happening. It started happening last quarter of 2020 for me. And I felt it, and I just stepped in it. And I'm like, hey, like, the truth needs to be put out there. And this is what feels what, like, that's in alignment with me and how I want to be able to put that truth out there. Right. So I want to be able to empower people in that capacity. And that's exactly what I've been doing since 2021 started. Yeah.
So, what are some of your mantras that you live your life by, or maybe some favorite motivational quotes that you hang up in your office, or what keeps you fired up?
Yeah. So shout out to Dr. Brett Jones, um, with helping me come up with my unshakable purpose statement. So that's my foundation. That's what I always lean on when I'm involved with anything, chiropractic, life. And my unshakable purpose is I am here to connect the disconnected, the disempowered, and the suffering back to their authentic power and expression. So that's my foundation. So now when I am involved in anything, I go back to that. Like, am I serving that purpose statement? Am I helping the disconnect? Am I helping the disempowered? Am I helping the suffering really step into their authentic power? Right? Because again, it goes back to with me, like that's when I was able to fully let my light shine per se, is when I fully owned it and really stepped into my own power. And that's what I want to help other people do.
I think a lot can be said about that as being a chiropractor, but also a businessman and
Yeah.
also somebody that wants to be a good family man. Is that if you don't establish your certainty within all of those roles that you play and those roles that you live in, anything will happen to you. If you don't set a standard, you'll accept anything. And I
Yeah.
think it's really important for you to set a standard around your mindset of what you'll allow yourself to interact with and how you allow yourself to interact with the opportunities around you. And whether that's patient care or whether that's being dad, you learn that you have to set some standards and some guidelines for yourself in order to make a massive impact. So,
Yeah.
I love how you're working with Dr. Brett too. He's a good
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, he's and just a little touch on that piece of it, because I use this mission, this purpose statement as more of a, like, just say you're on the interstate, and obviously each side of the interstate to have these ridges for just in case you go off the road, it wakes you up and like, oh, like, let me get back on track. And that is how I keep myself in alignment, to keep myself on this path, essentially. And if I feel myself going over to the side, I was like, oh, let me get back here, right? I'm out of alignment, and it doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good to be out of alignment. It really doesn't. Because one of my core values is integrity, and it goes right with that, right? So if I'm not in alignment, then I'm out of integrity myself, and I don't like to be in that space.
So how do you think the world would change if everyone started seeing a chiropractor and getting adjusted?
I would love it. I would love it. I would love that. Yes. How I think it would change is, I mean, in the office every single day, like, it's crazy. Like it also comes to a point where it's like these things that's happening in the office, these what most people would say miracles that's happening, they become like, oh, okay, like your A1Cs, your diabetes went down. Okay, cool, good job. Like it happens every day, and I try to like really lift that up, because I know like these things aren't happening outside this office like this, right? So we see so many miracles, so many things happen in the office, from improved eyesight, improved hearing, helping people with vertigo, headaches, all these different things, diabetes, helping the body function better. And when these people come into the door, maybe they can barely bend down, like they can't, like they have a altered gait, because their body has been adapting for so long, or they have just been experiencing this back pain for 20 plus years, and they don't know anything else. They don't know what normal even feels like anymore. And when they come into the office and when they actually start to feel normal, and they're like, oh, I woke up without back pain. But it's like, it's a weird space to be in, because you're talking about someone that has been dealing with this for over 20 years, and they wake up one day without it. They're like, they can't even like process what's going on. It's like, hey, where's my back pain? Like, well, where are you? Looking.
Yeah, you know, when I worked in an office, we would do like a reevaluation with people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times after people were with us for like 20 visits, they wouldn't even remember what brought them in the first place.
Yes. Yep. You forget.
Yeah,
Yep.
because people like they'd be like, we'd go back and look at what their responses were, and a lot of times it wouldn't even match up with what they originally came in for.
It's so crazy. Yes, because they're in a space of more of higher functioning, right? Higher healing, higher adaptation. And now, so they're in that space, so they can actually be able to do the things that they love to do. They can be able to be with their families, right? Because we know when we have our health, right, every other aspect of life we start to improve it. It just happens naturally because we feel good, we look good, right? And we're functioning great. And that's the whole, like, that's my promo of the chiropractic is dope, because chiropractic directly optimizes people's potential, people's expression, essentially. So that's why I created this shirt. It's like, because I know we help every realm of life by just focusing on the health, because I know what that's going to do for that person. So if the world was to experience chiropractic, it would be a more a functioning world, healthier, happier people. And it'd be great. I think it'd be like a utopia thing.
well, the other side of this, Dr. Ray, is what I've noticed is when people start getting adjusted, they start to actually adapt, like you said. But what happens is when they come into you, whether it's whatever their ailment is that they're trying to manage, they come into you with a lower vibrational standard of themselves. And what happens is you start to get this metamorphosis of the character. You get this, reinvention of the person. You get the chance to see them step into their own power again. And that's something that's really cool too with providing that type of service to people is it's not just about getting them out of pain, but you actually get a chance to shift their whole mindset and their whole adaptability to becoming a better version of themselves. And I think that's a part where we don't talk enough about, is the transformation of when somebody comes into you and they don't feel good, they're crummy, dude. They don't feel good at all. And they're like, save me, fix me, doctor. And you're like, all right, let's get you checked. Let's do some x-rays. Let's do some analysis. Let's do some range of motion.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, their range of motion improves. You know, their activities of daily living improve. They start getting better relationships with the people in their families. Mm-hmm. And that's just it, man. Is when somebody comes into you and they're like, throw me a life preserver, Dr. Ray. You're like, all right, face down. Let me check you. But before you know it, that person starts to change, and they change for, you know, a different version of themselves that they didn't know that was even there. So that's the power of chiropractic, in my opinion. When somebody comes in trouble and they come in and they're like, you don't even want to deal with them. I'm sure you see them all the time. You're like, all right, who's in room 2? And you're like, go over there, and you're like, oh gosh, I got to talk to this guy. But, you know, by adjustment 7, you couldn't be more than happy to have that person show up.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, just to add to that, because that's a very important point. And I imagine like chiropractors listen to this, is when I first started practicing, like I wanted to hold this space for them. Like obviously I know, like you said, they're at this more lower vibrational point, but I know what's within them. I know the innate intelligence that's within them and the power that they have. Like I see it in them, even if they're not expressing it, and even if they don't know it. And I wanted them to experience optimal health on their day one, right? But the thing is, I was missing. I'm like, like I didn't meet them where they're at, right? Let's get them. So let's think of this mountain, right? So say if one's higher, you have another one that's a little higher here, then the other one that's higher, which is the optimal health. They're down here at this lower one here, and they can only see the second mountain, right? They can't even see the third one or the fourth one, the fourth tier, because the second one is in the way. So now I have the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna meet you where you're at. I'm gonna get you from this point here. I'm gonna get you to the second mountain, because now we're gonna elevate, and now we're gonna have a different perspective. So now we can see that optimal health and what that looks like. It's like, hey, like look at the journey you've been on, and look where we're going. It's a different ball game there.
Well, I do big mountains out here in Colorado, and sometimes we call those false peaks.
Gotcha.
When you get to a certain spot and you're like, you think it's the top of the mountain, but you're like, oh gosh, I got another like quarter mile to get up this thing. And
there we go.
And you see it over there, and you're like, wow, I got to go up that now. And yeah, that's what we call a false peak.
False peak, love it. There we go.
So where do you see chiropractic heading in the next 20 years or so?
I would say, just based off of what I'm seeing now, is that people, and it goes back to the question that you said, everyone may not experience chiropractic, but I would imagine more people will, and more people are going to seek out alternative, right, type care per se, because if we've seen like the healthcare system is failing. I look at the numbers, the diabetes, obesity, like all these metabolic diseases. We spend trillions of dollars per year, and the system is failing, right? So I think people are looking for something else, and I think people are hopefully starting to take back their power and really the autonomy and taking responsibility for their health. And starting to look at these different things. So I think for the future, chiropractic is going to be, I think it's going to be amazing, and I think it's going to be perfect in where the trajectory of the energy is going, because there's a big shift that's happening, and I think as a chiropractor, it's going to be amazing point to be at. Honestly, I'm super excited to be living right now, to see all of this going on and to experience it. I always say, like, what a time to be alive. Like, seriously, like, what a time to be alive. and like what's going to happen from this. I'm really excited to see what that looks like for the profession out there.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, True Weight Solutions, The 100-Year Lifestyle, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Passive Practice Profits, BrainTap Technology, Sherman College of Chiropractic, SCED, Chiro Pro Accounting, A-Line, and Midwest Brain Health Technology. Let's hustle. Well, we need young leaders like yourself to continuously show up and to do big work and be a voice for people. And leadership is massively needed. And I always like the phraseology of unity through diversity. And I think that when we think about the chiropractic profession, there might be a little bit of a disconnection with the way that the colleagues within that family see each other. And I think that we do need more unity through the diversity of the adjustment, the education, the groups that people are a part of. And we do need great young leaders in the profession to stand in and to say, we're going to go this way.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. So when you talk about staying in the lane for yourself personally, we need that professionally too.
Yes, I agree. I would agree for that 100%.
So yeah, I really admire you for your vision and seeing what is possible. And I always, we've been doing work in the profession for some time now, but there was always any seminar you'd go to, they'd always say there's never been a greater time to be a chiropractor than now.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. And I mean, I guess you can look at it different ways. I think just obviously the now, the present is what is really what all that matters, and what you're doing and how you're showing up.
So who have been some of your biggest heroes or inspirations as you went on your path to become a chiropractor?
I would have to say, so I'm definitely big into the green books. I obviously didn't get to meet these guys like BJ, Didi, Stevenson. Like I wasn't able to meet them, but to be able to read their work has been like amazing because they were so ahead of their time, like so ahead of their time. And so just to be able to read that from when they wrote it to like now and everything applies is just so amazing. So philosophy wise, that has definitely driven me a lot throughout school, now, and just in what I put out there and how I show up every day in the office and also on the social media platform or just in the world, period. And definitely, again, I think Dr. Brett Jones definitely plays a big role in that too, because just being able to see him and how he moves, how he shows up, what he's doing, seems like he's everywhere. So that's definitely, it's very inspiring and just to see him as a leader. I think he's a leader that speaks up and shows up. So I think those are some people that have helped me on that journey. And I had read that question, but I think another hero, not even regarding chiropractic per se, is Kevin Hart. Right? It's so if you follow Kevin Hart's journey, and where he started, and obviously where Kevin Hart is now, I think the entrepreneurship of Kevin Hart is what like gravitates me towards him and just his entire journey. Like I'm just so inspired by that because I am an entrepreneur as well. And it's just really amazing to see that journey, see how he's doing all these different things and like how he has teams and delegating, and it's just an amazing thing. So one day I'm going to adjust Kevin Hart. I'm putting it out there. I put it out there, and one day I'm going to adjust Kevin Hart.
Well, here's the cool thing, Dr. Ray, is I guarantee you he doesn't know you yet, but I guarantee you he admires you for being a doctor. I guarantee you he admires you for stepping into your role and getting educated and doing what you do to serve your community.
Yeah.
So when you do get a chance to meet him, he's going to know that he met somebody that was also potent and powerful and capable. So people love your story too.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is cool. We actually saw Kevin Hart speak 2 years ago
Nice.
at Grant Cardone's 10X conference.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't know a whole lot about Kevin Hart, but his charisma,
Yep.
and the way he shows up, he's not only like the comedian type, but he's also, like you said, the entrepreneur businessman. And people love to see somebody building a future, and they love to see people working with teams. And I think that that's something I've learned, fundamentally in the chiropractic space is all chiropractors are entrepreneurs.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, that's why I changed my my Instagram thing to entrepreneur. It's not even chiropractor. It just says entrepreneur.
But that's just it, is you come into your entrepreneur space with your own toolkit.
Yes.
And one of the tools that you come into it is with your philosophy and your art. And there's not too many people that walk around with that same type of toolkit.
That's
so
true.
When they realize that you're the doctor, as Edison would always say, the doctor of the future.
Yep.
Well, Dr. Ray, you're the doctor of the present.
There you go.
You're gonna inspire the next generation of young DCs that are rising up to show up the right way. And I think, just knowing what I've seen from you, today's the first reckoning I've had with you to be able to talk to you. But knowing that I've been tracking your progress over the past couple months, I see what you're doing. And that's really important. So whether it's Kevin Hart or whether it's Grant Cardone, now it's Jim Chester and Ray Nichols, who knows what's possible next, right?
Well, yes, love it.
So tell us some of the marketing that you do for your clinic and maybe what works and what doesn't work.
Because we know you grew quick.
Yeah. So I would say some things. Obviously, social media. That's a given for us. We love social media. It's been amazing to be able to share our message, share chiropractic stories, share other patient testimonials, and be able to educate people, because that's what it comes down to: education and empowerment. So social media is one, and so we typically do, if you can think of 3 different buckets, right? So we have the digital, which is social media, right? It can be ads. That's one bucket. Our next bucket is going to be external marketing. That's your screenings. That's your dealing with the docs. That's your lunch and learns. And then we have internal marketing, where internal is just more of a patient referring people in, or we can create like an event. So what we do is special for us, I guess. It's called Patient of the Week celebration. So each week we'll award a patient that's been consistent with their care. They've been great, getting great results, and they continue to show up, right? And so we just want to just say, hey, thank you for showing up for your health, and thank you for trusting us with your health. And so at the end of the month, what we do is we go to a wine design. So it's like a paint and sip. And I have a great relationship. He's actually a friend. He's a patient. That he's the owner of Wine Design here in Greenville, and we pay for a night out, and they bring a guest with them that's either a non-patient or they're a patient. It doesn't matter, because it's more so we want to show our appreciation for them, right? And that has been like very, very good. I've been getting a lot of good feedback from that, and people really love it. And because a lot of people aren't getting out right now, for one. And they're not having date nights, and they're not having these things. And for us to be able to host and hold a space for our people and be able to still love on our people is just amazing to do. And so we try to do a lot of events like that. So I try to pour it back into our tribe, right? Because I know if they're with me, like I'm with them, and I'll like, you guys want to be patients for the rest of your life, I'm here until I can't do this anymore. And that's what we want to create. We're trying to create a culture in these walls and also in this city of Greenville, and just trying to really make a big shift here. Yeah. So that's how we look at marketing. And that's what we just dive into those three different buckets, because if you continue to show up in all three different buckets, people are going to see you. Like, then that's what they see me in downtown Greenville. It's like, oh, saw you on social media. Oh, I saw you at my job at Lunch and Learn, right? So all these things start to kind of build on each other, right? So it's not like you just pour in one bucket. You just make sure you pour in all three buckets, because it's going to create a compound effect that happens. Yep.
So what would be some advice that you would give to another chiropractic student who might be struggling right now?
Definitely take that advice as far as those three different buckets, right? But also know your strengths, because there's different ways you can market so many different things, but it may not be something that resonates with you, right? So don't try to do something that like maybe another chiropractor did that he does great at it, but maybe it's just not even your forte. Maybe your thing is maybe doing lunch and learns, or maybe your thing is just holding like workshops in your office, hosting space in your office, and having your patients bring other people, guests in. Or your thing may be doing webinars, right? It can just it's limitless, right? It's just, how creative are you, right? How can I show up in these three different spaces? How can I show up there? And I think that's the biggest thing. And I would say, you asked me a question about some things that have, I guess, been failure. And more so, it's not really failure, because I look at failure as more so of, it's just something that's waiting to be acknowledged. More so, it's not failure. You just want to look at it like, okay, we just have to improve here. That's it. And I think the things that one would say that they failed in, or it wasn't successful, is, how did you show up? How was your energy around this event, this talk? Did you prepare? Right? Were you excited about it? Because I've seen that in the office when we've held events in the office, when we wasn't, the whole team wasn't in, like all in, we didn't get the results we were looking for with the event every time. But when we showed up every day, set the intention in the huddle, and like, hey, today this is Patient Appreciation Day. We gotta make sure these people get their tickets into the drawing, and we just really ramp it up, right? Because it really comes down to energy, like what the type of energy you're bringing to your office, your events, and if the energy is there, then it's going to be there. But if the energy is not there, it will be a failure or a fail.
Yeah, but I think a lot of times when people go through like a struggle like that with marketing, like you said, they kind of find out what they like.
Yes.
And when you do something that doesn't fit within your energy zone, like you just don't do it anymore. So I think it is important though for people to get out to the community and get to know people with marketing. But I also think, like you said, it's also valuable to do in-house work.
Yes.
And to support from within. And the digital space is one of those things that could be gone tomorrow.
Yep.
So you gotta, pay attention to personal brand and personal relationships within your community. And marketing before social media was all know, like, and trust. You had to go to professional networking events. You had to go to support your chamber. You had to go to, a young professional networking group. You had to do those things. You had to do anything that would let you put a 10 by 10 booth at it and go out there and do a screening any given Sunday. You had to go out there and do any event that you could possibly get. So I think a lot of people in this era, they're coddled into marketing because they can put a little bit of ad spend or behind a Facebook ad, and before they know it, they got people showing up. But that's also a standard that you have to approach. But I think a lot of people get a little easy in this new era of digital marketing.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I mean, we do digital marketing, but like I say, do digital marketing, but they get to see that, but they also see other things that we're doing and we're showing up in. And I think it's still the like trust game. It's just more so now they don't just have to call it office as like this random person. They can actually stalk you on your Instagram or your YouTube or your TikTok or your Facebook, Snapchat, like wherever it is. They can stalk you, know you before they even step in the office or before they even call you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's how we landed an interview with you today.
There you go.
So I basically chose you because you did such a good job of doing your community outreach on your social media.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's how it happens. And that's why patients pick you. And that's why people come into you for those consults for the first 2 visits, and then they build a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And then after 6 months, they're referring in their whole family to you because they're like, Dr. Ray's the real deal. He's not just doing his social media thing, but he shows up the right way to his office too. And not only did I forget why I came in here for, but I just like to come in here and stay healthy.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens.
So what kind of things do you like to read and listen to? What are some of your hobbies? What do you do for fun?
Yeah. So definitely like to read, like the podcast. I would say more so the things I'm more gravitate towards will be business. So anything around entrepreneurship, reading wise or podcast wise, and also like spirituality. And I love to dive into mindset. And like just psychology, because I mean, we're if you're taking care of people or you're connecting with people, you need to know how to connect with people, right? So I feel like we're definitely losing that, and now more than ever is losing the connection of people. And how do I actually have a conversation? How do I connect with this person? So I love to dive into that because that's super important. Obviously, owning the business, communication is key, right? You need to be able to spread your value or spread the message. And dealing with chiropractic, so chiropractic isn't a tangible thing that you can put your hands on. So the communication has to be flawless. That's how you get a person that's never been to chiropractic before to sign care with you for 4 months, 6 months, a year, right? And just spend thousands of dollars to do that because of your communication, because you educated them, and because they're like, okay, there's something here. This person, I have a problem, and this person is the person to help me. So I'm signing up. Like, let's do it. I'm ready. And I think that's super important in that. And some things I like to do. I like to bowl. I'm a bowler. So I love to bowl. I can't play golf, so I'm a bowler. But I love to do that. And also more so, I mean, hanging with the family, I think is super important. Cause we talk about being present, right? And the kids are the future, right? So being able to show up for them in that space I think it's very, very super important. And then we talk about the entrepreneurship and not getting sucked into all the business, right? And when that you have the kids at home or a wife. So I think it's important. Again, that's where those bumpers come up at, right? The alignment, right? Making sure you're in that zone, you're in that on that path. So and then I like to hike. Love to hike. Love to get outside. Love to run. I would say I love to run now. I wasn't a runner until like the gyms had closed back last year. So I'm like, I have to move my body, and I'm like, let me go run. And like, so I've been running. So this year I have a goal to hit 500 miles running, and it's not like a big goal. I think it's very doable. So I ain't want to do anything crazy, but I'm super excited, and I've been motivated to do it. And I love running, so I can run and listen to a podcast, listen to audiobook, which is an awesome thing. So I live a really simple life.
Well, Dr. Ray, it's been really great to get to know you today. I am excited to hear some of your interests and hobbies and how you've adapted. And it's important to to set some targets for ourselves with the running target.
Yep.
And to feed the mind is super important, but also not to forget where your head lies. And that's at home with the family, making sure that you're present for them as well. So many great things that you shared with us today. I can see you're so ambitious, and I don't want to play you in bowling, but I probably will. It would probably be a lot of fun. But you'll probably beat me.
But it'd be fun, right?
So where can people go if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, so Instagram, so DR, so Dr. Period Raymond Nichols on Instagram, and then I'm on Facebook, Dr. Raymond Nichols or just Raymond Nichols. I would say primarily on Instagram, though. That's why I love Instagram. And think about getting on TikTok. My wife keep pushing me. She loves TikTok, so think about going there.
I won't go there right now, but we just signed up a TikTok, and I'm like, first things first, I'm not dancing and I'm not lip syncing. So as long as we can TikTok without that, I'm in.
Yeah, you definitely can. You just gotta get creative. As in, people are being creative. That's all.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Ray, we want you to have a great day out there in the Carolinas, and thank you for being our guest today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys, and continue to show up. Again, I appreciate that, seriously, especially for the profession. We need this message of other chiropractors, other people's story. So thank you, and thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right, I'll see you.
All right, have a good day now.
All right, you too.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.